Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about this, why this path is not a feel-good path. What is this path? Data path, path of uh, dissolution. So it's not just the path of awakening to our nature as pure consciousness. It's the path of first awakening to that, and then fully dissolving all karmic strands into that. So there's not one part of us that is left that has not been um, sacrificed into consciousness, because it is a phenomenon. It's possible to have this realization, have this awakening. I am, I am consciousness. I am the self, and yet still have conditioning, still have karma, still have um, patterns, and all of these things. So that's not the end. So the path of dissolution is the one that really acknowledges that, okay, this is a long path that even after awakening then has to go to the stage of really deep um, refinement, where even the slightest kind of identification with personality, individual personality, and the bodily identity is just erased, dissolved, basically. And what do we dissolve it in? We dissolve it in this perception, I am consciousness, and we keep coming back to it again, 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 again. We get more and more used to this, whereas our default kind of operating platform was, hey, I am this personality with this name. Gradually over time, once we've awakened to our natural state, we shift our default mode to, no, actually, I am consciousness. And then once that really kind of takes hold, it's like, as Mohanji says, the mind collapses. It's like the main beam from the roof is taken out, and then the whole thing just collapses in on itself. But even that collapsing, that final dissolution, takes time. Actually, in this realm, that still takes time to happen. So that's the path. So why is it not a feel good path? What would a feel good path look like? So we know. I don't want to say it's not this before I kind of qualify what this feel good path would be. Feel good path or feel good perspective on life is when we're basically looking at changing things to fulfill us. We're either looking at some aspect of our life right now, which is quite nice, quite convenient, kind of quite pleasant, and we're saying, "Oh, this is great," or we're in a not so great place, but we've got a plan for in the future to create a great situation, a great scenario. But again, a scenario based on, again, these usual culprits: position, possession, relationships, temporary experiences. So a feel good path is really a path where we're looking to still create something, create ourselves as something, to gain new knowledge, perhaps new spiritual knowledge, new spiritual experiences, new mystical experiences, new spiritual friends, new spiritual connections, new maybe cultural identity, new language. Maybe we learn some Sanskrit words. Maybe we from the West and we shift our culture over and we start pretending to be a Hindu or a Buddhist or something like this. But the key element of this feel good path is that we're still looking to create something new. We're still, even if we don't acknowledge it, looking for things within these temporary spheres of experiences, limited experiences, positions that we hold, work that we do, roles that we have, relationships that we have, whether platonic, romantic, spiritual, or whatever, or and then obviously possessions or whatever that we have. Also, maybe places that we live. Maybe we live somewhere new. Maybe we take on new spiritual lifestyle, and we say, "Great, this is so new. This is fantastic. I eat healthy food now. I wake up at 3 a.m. every day. I feel fantastic." Like, all of these things. What I'm trying to convey here is that the focus here is still on creating something new. We're still looking into the future, because creation exists in time, right? I'm doing this today, and tomorrow it's going to look like that, and in a week it's going to look like that. And we can look at this and say, "Oh yes, this is going nicely. This is what I wanted to create. This new person that I wanted to become, new spiritual person or whatever. Yeah, it's happening." It this happens a lot. I mean, if you've ever been to India or places like this, it's especially with Westerners going there and stuff like that. I mean, it's um it's everywhere. Just putting on the clothes of spirituality. It's just basically is another way to pass the time. I remember one Buddhist master spoke about this as well, and he said that some of these Western people, when they're studying Buddhism, instead of becoming Buddhists, they actually just become Tibetan. Like, instead of connecting with this real essence of, in this case, Buddhism, instead they just put on this clothes of this Tibetan culture, with whatever that involves. So same thing you can apply to any of these mainstream religions, along with New Age sects or any of this. But why this data path, dissolution path is not this kind of feel good path, because it's not actually about creating anything. It's not about becoming anything. It's not about in this amount of time becoming this or making this happen. It's not about becoming actually a different kind of person, a more spiritual person or whatever. This path is actually about facing what we have on our plate right now. So ideally, the way to walk this path is that it's like we're totally trapped. We've got no escape. We come to a point where we really don't see. We say, okay, tomorrow this might happen in the world of possessions. Maybe I win a lottery. I get £1 billion. Maybe this happens in the world of relation, okay, whatever. I meet the love of my life, or relationship turns perfect, or whatever, or realm of position, we get whatever job we want or whatever, or like this, or people respect us. The ideal position in this path is that we look at these things and we think, yeah, so what? That's not really going to do anything. It'll give me some kind of positive kick, some kind of positive high for a certain period of time, and then it'll go back again. Either we'll get bored of that thing, we'll start craving for more, one option, or that scenario itself will collapse. It'll transform, it'll separate, it'll dissolve, it'll die. So really, when we get into this path, we're having this kind of perspective, that there's nothing coming in the future. There's no this miracle that's going to come and make everything okay. Like, what we have is already it. What do we have? What are the actual facts that we are working with on this path? First fact, which is direct experience for yogis, is that we're already the supreme consciousness. Like, we already have that within us all the time. That's the animating force. The enlivening force within us is consciousness, is life, is existence. So that's always there. If we haven't got the direct experience of that, we have to kind of have faith and have a kind of longing that there's something more than what we presently have. So we have to operate from the point of longing for that. Really, that's what I was doing as well until I had that experience. And then the second fact is that, so the first fact is that we are already supreme consciousness. That's not there for 1 minute and gone another. That is the fact of existence. That is the fact of our life in all states, in all bodies, in all incarnations, in and out of time. That is the truth. But then the other fact is that we have this accumulation of obscuring patterns that makes us feel, that makes us experience that we are not that we are not the supreme consciousness, right? So this is also a fact within our experience. So these are the two facts that we're dealing with on this path. Okay, we are the supreme consciousness. We're aiming at that. We want to establish ourselves in that. It's not something new. It's not something that has to be created, fabricated, manufactured. It's not something that has to be bought, that we have to pay money for. It's not something that we have to be taught either. It is already the essence of our being. And we simply don't realize it, don't experience it, because we're distracted with patterns that emerge in the form of thoughts, fears, uh, desires, all these kind of things. So these are the facts that we've got to deal with. So the goal is not something that needs to be created or brought about in the future. The goal is already there. All that we have to do, all that the path is learning to work with these patterns. It's not just work with the patterns in an abstract sense. It's learning to live in such a way, like Mohanji's quote again, liberation is a lifestyle. It's learning to live in such a way that we become lighter day by day. We become less bound, less entangled every day. We can't become liberated overnight, but we can begin to slow down this accumulation of more patterns, more neurotic tendencies, more fears, right? And this kind of thing. So path is extremely, extremely, extremely simple. The path is occurring in this gap between pure awareness here and patterns, how we're manifesting ourselves. So path is our nature as consciousness gradually coming to the fore, coming to the surface, and that itself refining all of these patterns. So why is this not feel good? It's not feel good because we have to face all the things that we don't want to face. So on this feel good path, it's mainly characterized by looking outwards, looking, I want to become this. I'm going to create this. I'm going to make myself as this. I'm going to reach this place. Whereas on this path, we're not looking outwards, actually. We're just learning to actually feel and digest what we already have, right? Most people are not in this mode of digestion. Sorry, they're constipated. Okay, most people just spend their entire lives living in a state of distraction, distracted from going in and saying, okay, what have I got inside of me? What are my patterns? What are the root causes of the things that make me feel anxious, that make me suffer, that make me fear, that make me feel unfulfilled, that bring disharmony into my lives? People are not doing this. People are saying, no, I don't want to face that. Let me, despite all of this shit that I've got within me, despite that, let me try and find a way to feel good, basically. This is the creed of Kali Yuga. This is the creed of the way that people are living. It's called burying your head in the sand. And when we do this, a lot of violence ends up resulting from it, from the sheer ignorance of it. So this path is not about necessarily creating something new. It's dealing with what we've already got. It's learning to live with what we've already got inside of us and to start actually digesting this stuff. And what happens when you digest, when you feel lighter, right? If you eat a huge meal, straight after it, you feel very full. I've eaten a lot of huge meals. I know about this. Um, you feel full with time as the digestion happens. Oh, you feel lighter, right? So this is what we're learning to do on this path, and it's not feel good because a lot of these things we don't want to face. We've been living in the habit of turning away from these things, just just like I said, just distracting ourselves, thinking, okay, this is there, this heaviness is there. I'm carrying this heaviness with me, but let me try and anyway just do what I can. All again through the modes of creating, becoming, doing, right? So once we start facing everything that we have inside of us, obviously we're going to see unpleasant things. We're going to have to actually sit with these things. And this feel good path of just delaying and pushing under the surface, it is just that. It is delaying the time that it's going to take for us to get through all of this stuff. I'll give you an example of this as well from the life of a great master called Baba Lokanath. Really amazing master. There's a great book about him as well. And he had one disciple who was quite advanced himself, and he had a terrible like abdominal problem or something, abdominal cramps or something like that, really painful thing. And he said, look, Guruji, with your yogic power, can you get rid of this? Can you get rid of this terrible affliction from me? So Baba Lokanath said, he said, technically, I can get rid of it with my yogic power, but you'll have to experience it again in your next life. So this is your option. You can go through it now and be done with it, or I can take it away, but you'll have to take another birth to experience this. So on this path, and he did. He endured it in that life, and at the end of that life, he got liberation. That guy. Um, so on this path, we're shifting from this mode of saying, let me face all of this stuff later and let me just try and enjoy as best as I can now. We're shifting from that mode to the mode of, yes, let me get through all of this stuff now, whatever is inside me, whatever I need to experience on an internal level, whatever I need to experience on an external level, whatever experiences are going to come to me. Let me have it all. Let me deal with it all. Okay, let me take as much as I can. So that's why it's not a feel-good path, because everybody that's here on this earth in this time is going to have to deal with sufferings. It's going to have to deal with negativity, because it's just that's the nature. That's beings born in Kali Yuga. That's the nature of even masters avatars. Because they take a body, they have to take on suffering also. So that's going to be there whether we like it or not. But it's not a feel-good path, because we're not trying to run away from what we have inside of us. We're facing it head on. But the glory of facing these things head on is that once that thing, or once that experience, or once that situation is done, it's done then, right? That's done, right? And we're getting into this mode, we're getting into this way of living in a lighter way. We're learning to live with more freedom. Okay, we're accepting ourselves, we're accepting our own nature, our own tendencies, we're accepting other people, we're accepting our situation. As soon as this element of acceptance comes into the picture, we stop creating all this additional stuff, because the other aspect of this feel-good path is that it's not just delaying, it's creating more, right? You're creating more stuff to deal with, right? Maybe people have had this experience when maybe you want to tell something to somebody, confessing something or anything, or you want to ask something to somebody, and there's a moment where it's really like the ripe moment to ask that thing or say that thing, but you don't do it, right? But you feel that you have to. And then when it comes around in the future, it's like you've still got to say it. Maybe it's not the easiest thing to say, but it becomes more and more difficult to say it because you had this chance where, okay, this is the right moment, this is the appropriate moment to say this action or to do this action or to face this thing. But when you push that away, when it often comes around for the second go or the third go, it's often a lot more difficult. And usually in the meantime, we've got a load more doubt come into the picture and all of these things. So, you know, life is always giving us these chances, you know, to live in this kind of liberating mode, to live in a clear way, living in a clear way, how to live in a clear way. Always be very straightforward with people, honest. Don't leave things in the air. Don't tangle yourself in webs of lies or delusions. Be very clear with people. Be very clear about who you are, what do you want, how you feel. Be clear if you don't like something as well. Right? Have this kind of clarity. Have clarity about what you want. If you want something, if you desire something, you feel, yeah, this is something I've really got to do. Fine, go for it. Right. So this is living in a clear way. And when we live in a clear way like this, then we start to exhaust things, we start to digest things. And when we live in a fearless way, naturally, life has a mechanism of bringing up many things that take us out of our comfort zone. So life knows how to liberate itself, and we have that life within us. We are that life. So we have the intelligence to walk this path, to make the right decisions, to do the right things at the right times, to have these realizations about ourselves. Okay, this is binding me. Oh, I made this little slip there. I could have acted like this, but now I've kind of made a mess out of it. Fine, it's done. Learn from it. We have this intelligence within us, right? We find gurus, guides, and all of these things because these are beings that have mastered that, and they only live directly through that intelligence. So it's like a good influence, right? They can help us and give us advice and give good influence and transmission to help us do that. But eventually we've got to walk the path ourselves. Our issues are our own issues, our patterns are our own patterns. But we'll have the keys inside of us to get through these things, to do the right things, to take the right turns in our life. This is all within us. So this is what I'm saying. Like this, another example I thought of like this is that a bit of a stupid one maybe, but about kind of facing what's on our plates. I don't know if people follow much this, all this celebrity culture and movies and all this kind of stuff, but there's terrible like this people having this plastic surgery these days. Women specifically, men as well. And usually it's these kind of women or men that have had these kind of roles, maybe singer or actor, where their identity is heavily dependent on looking like young and beautiful, for example. So when age is coming and we're all getting more, looser, more wrinkles, whatever, these people say, no, 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 I can't face that. So, okay, if they've got money, they can get this plastic surgery or whatever. But when you see some of these people, they look like a million times worse than you would ever look if you aged in just a natural way. Like some of these people really end up looking like monsters. Maybe they don't think so themselves, but really, it's from the outside. It is. It's terrible. So that's for me is like an analogy. Like we can have these things in our life where it's like, okay, I've got something a bit rough on my plate right now. I've got something a bit difficult there. I've got something which is not ideal, right? Like a movie star becoming older, less, appealing looking, losing road, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. So inconvenient things for us. And life will give us options. Life can say, oh, look, if you do this, and this, if you jump through these hoops, if you try and control like this, if you pay this, then you can maybe make this a bit better for yourself, or you can reverse this. Or life will say, you can just accept. You can just accept, deal with it, and walk through it. So this path is really the path of acceptance, of where we just accept these things that come to us. And it's not it's not that we become passive, but the more we see that, okay, real joy, happiness, fulfillment is something that's innately inside of us. It's not to do with what I do or what I don't do, what I have or what I don't have. The more we begin to feel that, the more we become confident in just accepting actually what life brings us. There's examples of this from the life of saints that accepted tremendous um, sufferings, on their body, um, and whatever. There was one when I was making this data book and I was doing the biography for Tembe Swami at the start. He got black magic put on him. He was trying to protect someone from black magic. It got put on him. And he saw, if I retaliate to this black magic attack, it'll kill the other person. So he decided not to retaliate. He took the attack, and this attack brought about dysentery on him for the rest of his life. Tremendous suffering. This is a superhuman feat. How was he able to do it? Because he knew he wasn't the body. and he didn't want to get involved in any games based on this game of being the body, attacking and defending, and all this kind of stuff. So he was living liberation in that way. So the more we go on the path, the easier this becomes. At the beginning of the path, we might not be able to do it straight away. Some things will come, we'll say, no, 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 this is overwhelming. I can't deal with this. I need to do something to control it and this and that. It's fine. We don't become saints or masters overnight. We do what we can. But we should be aware of this principle, because certain things are just coming, right? And we can't get out of them. We have to see in these cases, look, this thing is coming. If I do this, I take this kind of controlling kind of approach. Am I just making the situation more tangled? Am I just pushing it further into the future, or am I just pushing it onto somebody else? All of these things we should be aware of. So yeah, to sum up, it's not a feel-good path, because we're going to face all of the things that we don't want to face, didn't want to face. But the thing is that our resistance to certain experiences binds us to reincarnation just as much as desire does. I'll repeat that one because it's important. Resisting things, fearing things, pushing things away, this binds us just as much to this world, to coming back, as desire does, right? Desire, wanting something, and fearing something, both of these things bind us equally. Both bring experiences to us, and both trigger reincarnation in this world so that we can have those experiences, right? So this path, we have to become fearless. Everything within us that we've been afraid to look at, afraid to face, everything outside of us that we've been afraid to look at, afraid to face, we have to go through it. The only way, the only way on this path is through. This feel-good path, you're trying to go over or under or around, or maybe you're trying to find a way to levitate or teleport. But on this path, we're going through. And when we go through, we actually eventually realize that nothing's as bad as we thought it was. The badness is really our own resistance, our own fear, our own contraction, our own suppression. Even some masters take tremendous physical sufferings onto themselves. They don't suffer in a normal way, because their connection with their essence is so deep and blissful that it overwhelms the full bodily experience. So yeah, this is what I wanted to say about why this is not a feel-good path. I think I've made it quite clear. I mean, nobody's forced onto any path. We're all free to do what we want, but for me, you can't. You can't. People who have that feeling of, I really want to be done with this stuff, I really want to digest this stuff, I really want to have this stuff done and dusted. This is their path, and these people are the ones that become courageous and really go through this. And these people experience this. These people on a daily basis experience, yes, something is happening here, something deep is happening with me on this path. Yeah, because they're doing something. They're learning to live in that way, where they start digesting what they have inside of them, And once you get going on that track and you've got, good connection, good guidance and stuff like this, then you start walking, then you start running, and then you start flying to liberation, to full liberation. So that's this path. That's the greatness of this path. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for people expecting quick fixes. Absolutely not. It's pure fire for those who are not afraid. So yeah, okay. I've said everything I want to say and more, with some waffling as well. So that'll do for today, people.